California's homelessness crisis, a state in struggle. California, once celebrated as the land of gold, now bears the heavy weight of a homelessness crisis that cuts to the core of its identity. For decades, this state has faced one of America's most persistent and complex social challenges. In cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego, sprawling encampments have become an everyday sight, stark symbols of a system under strain. Tens of thousands of people, families, veterans, seniors, and youth are living without stable shelter, trapped in a web of skyrocketing housing costs, deep economic inequality, mental health struggles, and policy failures. In this video, we'll uncover the full scope of California's homelessness crisis, dive into its root causes, and take on the tough but necessary conversations about solutions. You'll see powerful, never-before-seen footage of homelessness across the state, raw, real, and impossible to ignore. The sprawling tent encampments along Los Angeles sidewalks and San Francisco streets are stark reminders of California's deepening homelessness crisis. HUD's December 2024 report estimated that nearly 187,000 Californians lacked stable housing in January 2024, almost a quarter of the nation's 771,480 homeless individuals. This figure reflects a 3% rise from 181,399 inches 2023, though still less severe than the 18% national surge. Los Angeles County alone reported 75,312 homeless residents, a slight dip of 0.27%, while the Bay Area, including San Francisco, saw a 6% increase to 38,891. Yet behind these statistics lies a tapestry of human struggles. Families with children, veterans scarred by service, and individuals with mental health challenges form the heart of this population. In 2024, the nation saw a 33% rise in homeless children, with California hit especially hard due to soaring living costs. Racial disparities remain glaring. Black Americans, just 12% of the U.S. population, make up 32% of the homeless, a pattern echoed in California's cities. Nearly half, 48%, of those using California's homeless services in 2023 reported a disabling condition, reflecting the heavy toll of physical, mental, and emotional health issues. Homelessness is impossible to ignore. Tents fill public parks. Makeshift shelters line alleys, and crowded corners become impromptu communities. 2/3 of California's homeless remain unsheltered, the highest share nationwide, underscoring a severe shortage of shelter beds. While the state saw progress, an 11% drop in unaccompanied homeless youth and declines in veteran homelessness, California still accounts for 44% of the country's chronically homeless. This crisis is more than a matter of numbers. It is a profound human toll that challenges the conscience of a state celebrated for innovation and prosperity. California's struggle, a central piece of homelessness in America, forces difficult questions about equity, resilience, and the state's commitment to the well-being of its most vulnerable residents. The persistence of sprawling encampments underscores one urgent truth. Without bold, comprehensive strategies, this challenge will continue to define California's future. California's homelessness crisis is not just a humanitarian emergency, it is a strain that ripples through every corner of the state's social welfare system. Healthcare, public safety, and education are all buckling under its weight. In Los Angeles and San Francisco, sprawling encampments are daily reminders of a crisis that reshapes entire communities, not just the lives of those on the streets. For many unhoused residents, emergency rooms have become their only source of medical care, driving up costs for taxpayers. In Los Angeles alone, 900 homeless individuals died in 2023, a decline from 1,167 in 2022, but still a staggering number. Of these deaths, 20% were from natural causes and 2% from suicides, often in isolated tents or abandoned buildings without basic necessities like electricity. Mental health lies at the core of the crisis. Roughly 27% of California's homeless population has been hospitalized for mental health conditions, and 23% report hallucinations per 2024 data. Without consistent treatment, conditions worsen, fueling cycles of instability. Substance abuse, often interwoven with mental health struggles, adds another layer of difficulty, making recovery elusive. Communities also feel the strain. Areas with high concentrations of homelessness report more petty crime, like theft and vandalism, often born of desperation. Law enforcement resources are stretched thin, while trust between residents and authorities frays. The education system, too, is bearing the fallout. In 2024, California recorded a 9.3% increase in homeless students, with about 20,000 children navigating school without stable housing. These students face missed classes, fractured focus, and heightened risks of poverty, making academic achievement an uphill battle. Taken together, the challenges of health, safety, and education expose a safety net frayed by the sheer scale of homelessness. Once a model of compassion, California's social welfare system now struggles to keep pace with a crisis that grows more complex each year. This fallout underscores a sobering truth. Homelessness reshapes not only the lives of those directly affected, but the very fabric of California's communities. Rooted in economic pressures, limited mental health resources, and systemic inequities, the crisis tests the state's resilience and highlights a national struggle. Addressing it demands more than piecemeal fixes. It requires a robust, coordinated response to restore stability and dignity for all. To understand why homelessness remains so entrenched in California, we must untangle a web of interrelated factors. At its core, the soaring cost of housing is the primary driver. Between 2021 and January 2024, average rents in California increased by over 20%, far outpacing wage growth and leaving countless families struggling to stay housed. A 2025 estimate reveals a critical shortage of 1.2 million affordable homes, effectively locking out low and middle-income families from stable housing. This housing gap forces many residents to the brink, where a single unexpected expense can lead to eviction. Economic factors amplify the crisis. Persistent inflation and stagnant wages trap many, particularly those in low-wage jobs, in a fragile existence where an unexpected expense, a medical bill, car repair, or job loss can lead to eviction. Natural disasters like the 2023 Maui wildfires displaced thousands, further straining the state's already overburdened housing market. Meanwhile, a steady influx of migrants seeking better opportunities adds more pressure to a market that can barely keep up. Mental health and substance abuse issues exacerbate the problem. According to a 2025 UCSF Benioff Homelessness and Housing Initiative report, 37% of California's homeless population regularly uses substances, often as a coping mechanism. Yet only 7% have access to treatment due to the state's limited facilities. Without proper support, these individuals become trapped, unable to meet rent or maintain stable employment. Systemic inequities, particularly racial disparities, deepen the crisis. Black Californians, though comprising only 5.4% of the state's population, represented 26% of those seeking homeless services in 2022 to 2023, according to a January 2025 National Alliance to End Homelessness report. This disparity is the result of long-standing discrimination in housing, employment, and access to opportunities, compounding barriers to stability for marginalized groups. The complexity of these interconnected challenges, economic hardship, social issues, and entrenched inequities positions California as a focal point in America's homelessness crisis. Recent data paints a sobering picture. California's homeless population reached nearly 186,000 inches. September 2024, a 3% increase from the previous year, while the national increase was 18% per a December 2024 HUD report. Los Angeles recorded 75,312 homeless individuals in 2024, a slight 0.27% decrease, while the Bay Area saw its homeless population rise 6% to 38,891. In addition, 9.3% more homeless students were reported in 2024, with 20,000 children living without stable housing. And 48% of those accessing homeless services in 2023 reported having disabling conditions, often linked to mental health or substance use, according to the Public Policy Institute of California. These figures reveal a persistent, multifaceted challenge where each root cause compounds the others, emphasizing the need for comprehensive, urgent solutions to tackle this crisis. California has invested significantly in efforts to combat its homelessness crisis, dedicating over $20 billion since the 2018 to 2019 fiscal year to address the growing problem. In 2021, Governor Gavin Newsom announced a $12 billion plan to expand affordable housing and support services for the homeless. A major initiative under this plan, Proposition 1, passed in 2024, allocated $6.4 billion to build 4,350 housing units for homeless individuals dealing with mental health or substance abuse challenges, including 2,350 units for veterans. Yet, despite these large investments, the 187,000 homeless individuals reported by CalMatters in September 2024 highlight that these new units meet only about 2% of the demand, underscoring the limited reach of even substantial funding. Local governments are also taking action. Los Angeles has developed temporary housing sites and service hubs to offer immediate shelter and resources. San Francisco has implemented the Housing First approach, which prioritizes stable housing before addressing underlying issues such as addiction or mental health. A 2025 study shows that participants in Housing First programs are 33% more likely to remain housed after 2 years than those in traditional programs. However, significant challenges remain. High construction costs, prolonged timelines, and fragmented coordination between state agencies and local governments are slowing progress. A 2025 Los Angeles City audit revealed that only 15% of affordable housing units planned between 2021 and 2023 were completed by mid-2024, with bureaucratic delays impeding the timely delivery of these units. Similarly, San Francisco's navigation centers, while innovative, can only house a small fraction of the city's 8,000 homeless residents, leaving many without a solution. Despite these efforts, California's approach remains constrained by systemic barriers that limit its effectiveness. The state accounts for 28% of the nation's homeless population in 2024 per HUD, far surpassing other states. The state's high cost of living, with median home prices near $800,000, exacerbates the housing shortage, making scalable solutions difficult to implement. The sheer scale of California's homelessness crisis demands coordinated, comprehensive strategies to bridge the gap between ambition and impact. Looking to states like New York, with its more streamlined Housing First model, may offer insights into improving California's approach. The path forward requires more than just funding. It calls for a unified strategy to overcome bureaucratic hurdles and deliver meaningful, lasting change. California's homelessness crisis stands as a profound outlier in the national landscape, with its sheer scale highlighting the state's unique challenges. As of September 2024, nearly 187,000 Californians lack stable housing, according to CalMatters, representing roughly a quarter of the 771,480 homeless individuals nationwide, per the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's December 2024 report. This figure dwarfs other states, such as New York, with 103,200 homeless residents, and Florida with 30,700, based on 2023 counts. On a per capita basis, California's rate of 46 per 10,000 residents far surpasses the national average of 18 per 10,000, underscoring its exceptional struggle with homelessness. A major driver of this disparity is California's sky-high housing market. With a median home price of approximately $800,000, more than double the national average of $400,000, housing affordability is a major barrier. This pushes far more individuals toward homelessness than in states like Texas, where lower costs keep its homeless population closer to 25,000. State policy approaches vary greatly. New York's robust Housing First model, which prioritizes permanent housing, achieves a 33% higher success rate in maintaining housing stability compared to California's efforts, according to a 2025 Urban Institute study. Texas, benefiting from more affordable living costs, manages its homelessness crisis with fewer resources and faces less pressure on its housing market. However, California's ambitious initiatives are often stalled by bureaucratic inefficiencies and escalating construction costs. A 2025 Los Angeles audit found that 85% of affordable housing projects planned between 2021 and 2023 were delayed due to red tape, highlighting stark contrasts with Texas's more streamlined permitting processes. The data for 2024 to 2025 further illustrates California's outsized burden. While the state's homeless population grew 3% from 2023 to 2024, the national average saw an 18% increase. Still, 2/3 of California's homeless remain unsheltered, the highest proportion in the U.S. Even with modest declines in unaccompanied homeless youth and veteran homelessness, California continues to account for 44% of the nation's chronically homeless. California's crisis, though part of broader national struggles with homelessness, demands unique, targeted solutions. While New York's focus on permanent housing and Texas's affordability offer valuable lessons, California requires bold, innovative strategies to overcome its housing challenges. The state's efforts serve both as a local call to action and a national benchmark, urging a rethinking of how homelessness should be addressed with urgency and precision. California's response to homelessness has sparked decisive actions, but progress remains slow and uneven. Governor Gavin Newsom's 2024 executive order to clear encampments was aimed at restoring public spaces, yet Los Angeles faced a 40,000-bed shortage in 2024, leaving many with nowhere to go. Newsom's affordable housing push is hampered by regulatory hurdles and a 15% increase in construction costs from 2023 to 2025. Local governments offer varied approaches. In Palm Springs, stricter laws have been introduced to curb public camping, but critics argue this criminalizes poverty. In contrast, Los Angeles has focused on temporary housing and service centers, yet 60% of the city's budget for homelessness in 2024 was allocated to permanent housing solutions, limiting the effectiveness of many programs. At the federal level, HUD allocated $3.6 billion nationwide in 2024. But this is insufficient for California's nearly 187,000 homeless residents who make up a quarter of the national homeless population. California's crisis highlights the delicate balance between compassion and enforcement, with policies that often fail to provide meaningful solutions. With ongoing bureaucratic delays and limited resources, California needs more than incremental steps. It requires bold, coordinated action. The crisis demands long-term strategies that combine housing, healthcare, and mental health services to restore dignity and ensure real change. California's homelessness crisis exposes deep flaws in the state's promise of opportunity and prosperity. With nearly 187,000 individuals without stable shelter in 2024, the crisis is driven by skyrocketing housing costs, economic inequality, and an overstretched social safety net. Despite $20 billion in investments and initiatives like Proposition 1's $6.4 billion for housing, the problem persists. The path forward requires bold action, building affordable homes, expanding mental health and addiction services, and improving collaboration among state, local, and nonprofit entities. A 2025 UCSF report found that only 7% of homeless Californians with substance abuse issues receive treatment, exacerbating instability. The Housing First model, which reduced homelessness by 33% in New York, should guide California's efforts. Racial inequities also need to be addressed, as Black Californians, just 5.4% of the population, make up 26% of those accessing homeless services. California has the chance to lead the nation, proving that compassion and bold policies can create lasting change. The vision of a California where no one sleeps on the streets is possible, but it requires commitment and action. What will it take to turn this resolve into a lasting legacy of hope?